Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Basement Bathak with Shahab. Today's episode is a special one. This has been in the making for a little while. What I've been trying to do is trying to understand more about PTI's organizational issues. I have a lot of people within PTI. मेरी अपनी बहन PTI में एक office holder है. And talking to her, I realized that there's a lot of organizational issues going on inside PTI, and then हम लोग social media पे we listen to or we read what's going on with different जो धड़ेबाजी हुई है within this PTI social media space as well. It's not just social media, but even inside the organization itself, there's a lot of different pieces going on. I call this the PTI 3.0, and I'll explain that in a bit. Before I do that, the guest today on my show is Salman Akram Raja. I feel, and he's the first celebrity who's actually joining my show, and the reason for that is I feel that he's one of the saner voices inside PTI, and the lady who put this all together. Big shout out to her. I don't think I should name her. She doesn't want to be named, but she pulled all the strings in the back end and made this happen. I have never met Salman Saab before this. This was my first meeting with him. We ran into a lot of technical challenges. So the camera on his side and his audio was not working. So we had the cameraman go there and take videos and audios. I'm still waiting for him to ship me those digital files so that I can start my editing. Whenever that happens, I will post the video on my channel. This is going to be the intro to that video. But the whole concept for this discussion with Salman Saab today is I want to open the communication channel between these various factions. People who know me as कि मैं बहुत बड़ा नाकिद हूँ PTI का. Big critic of PTI, which is fair. I am, and I just feel like at the very top level, leadership level, there's a lot of hostility. Okay, like the army doesn't want to talk to PTI, the PTI doesn't want to talk to the political parties, and no one's. It's a big hodgepodge. Okay, and no one wants to talk to one another, and I feel at some level, discussion has to start. And rather than waiting for the top-down trickle effect to happen, which normally never happens, let's start the discussion from the grassroots. Okay, so me as a person, I don't have influence, but Salman Akram Raja does. But because I represent the other side, let me put my questions across to him and try to understand where he's coming from and where the party is coming from. उनकी मंतक मुझे समझ में आएगी या उनका narrative मैं सुनूंगा तो at least I'll have an appreciation for what's going on, what are their challenges, how does PTI USA or PTI UK's activities impact PTI Pakistan's activities, and then वो जो उनका organizational ढांचा है, the structure that is existent right now, how legal is it even legal? लोगों को flyers जा रहे हैं, circulars जा रहे हैं कि भाई आपको हम PTI से निकाल रहे हैं. How legal is that? What kind of challenges will that throw up? I know a lot of people, including PTI supporters, have these questions. And everyone within the party feels like there's a lot of hostility within. My sister, who's in the PTI in Sindh, feels like there's a lot of hostility within. She's actually being reduced to tears these days. She sends me all these voice notes with her crying. कि मैं क्या करूं, मैं कहाँ जाऊं, I feel like leaving the party. Like, and I've given so many years to Khan का vision मेरा, हम लोग बचपन से Khan के साथ है, तो I don't want to backstab him in these tough times, but they're making it hard for me to stay within the party. Then वो पीछे से वो उसको कहती है कि यार there are a whole new influx of people that are joining the party who are now overriding us. हमने इतने साल लगाए इस पार्टी में और ये पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गए, और उनमें से कुछ शेडी कैरेक्टर के भी हैं, और उनका वो लगता है वो आए हैं अंदर हमको तोड़ने के लिए. So I listen to these things, and I obviously am looking at these things as well, and I feel this needs to be addressed. So in this episode, I'm going to talk to Salman Saab I know he's also new to the party, and maybe he's not, like I said, PTI 3.0 ke inductee hai. He just came into the party in this new resurrection of, let's say, the third phase of what PTI looks like today. So PTI 1.0 was basically PTI jab start hui thi, from inception till 2011. And then, PTI 2.0, from there on, ekdam se influx aaya of electables. They all joined in. You might have heard that term a lot back in the days. And then what happened recently after the VONC or vote of no confidence was कि ये exodus हुआ, सारे निकल गए बाहर पार्टी से, और एक fresh party, fresh लोग आ रहे हैं inside this party. वो किस typology के लोग हैं जो इस पार्टी में आ रहे हैं, क्या उनमें good faith players हैं, या bad faith players हैं या नहीं हैं? What is Salman Akram's take on this? How does he see it as a newcomer in the party who actually has direct access to Imran Khan? So maybe he does not have that administrative oversight that maybe someone else, maybe someone like Umar Ayub probably has, but he does have some understanding of what's going on inside the party. So that's going to be my discussion for today, and I just hope that at the end of this discussion you will have some understanding of what's happening within PTI. I felt after this interview that Salman Saab was very positive in his outlook. I didn't want to push back to some of the things he said. I felt it could have been challenged, but he was tight on time, and we already had so many. We were delayed by I think 2 or 3 hours in this recording for various reasons. He was traveling, he wasn't traveled, and I had technical issues, and he had technical issues. So I just had 1 hour with him, so I took my best shot. I hope you guys enjoy this. All right, Salman Saab, welcome to my virtual Gharib Khana. Very indebted for you to join me. And props to the lady who pulled this off for us. Welcome on my show.
My pleasure.
Salman Saab, I just have, for me, I'm just trying to understand. I have a lot of questions that have to do with PTI's organizational matters in the last 2 years. बहुत सारे नए लोग आए हैं PTI के अंदर, और मैं इंग्लिश और उर्दू में बात करता रहूँगा. I'll flip between the two, so feel free to speak either in Urdu or English, whatever you're comfortable with. And I know you're a new person into PTI, so you may not have all the background, but I'm hoping you can give me some candid assessment of what you feel are the organizational matters inside PTI at the moment. मेरे ख्याल से इस वक्त एक meltdown सा है. A lot of people who support PTI actually have these questions about what's going on in the organization, who's in charge, does this central secretariat, does it even legally exist, and what have you. So my questions will be around trying to understand the PTI. I call it the PTI 3.0. Okay, so I call it 3.0 because PTI 1.0 was basically when PTI started all the way up to 2011ish. फिर 2011 के बाद एक PTI 2.0 start हुई, जिसमें एक influx of new people came in, and then PTI, then we recently जब VONC के बाद a lot of people left, and now PTI 3.0 है जहाँ पे आप लोग and many other new people have joined in. So that's going to be my theme. I'm trying to do a role play here, Salman.
Okay.
I'm trying to do a theoretical role play, hypothetical.
Okay.
ठीक है, उसमें मैं ये करना चाह रहा हूँ कि मैं एक इन्फ्लुएंशियल हूँ आपके कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में. आप मुझे कन्विंस करने आ रहे हैं कि शाब गिव मी योर वोट्स एंड आई एम गोइंग टू स्विंग अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल टू योर साइड. ठीक है, तो एक री इलेक्शन पे हम जा रहे हैं. आई एम गोइंग टू आस्क यू दीस 4 क्वेश्चंस. The role play is, if you convince me on these 4 questions, I get my whole tupper with me, and we vote for you in the re-election and make you win. Okay. Now, the first question आपके लिए जो है मेरे पास वो ये कि and this is a question on a lot of people's minds, especially from people who support PTI. VONC के बाद, the vote of no confidence के बाद, PTI 3.0 जिसको मैं कह रहा हूँ, एक बहुत डिफरेंट सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हो गई है. ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर काफ़ी चेंज हो गया है. और आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ इट हैज़ टू डू विद जो पुरानी PTI थी, जो PTI 2.0 जिसको मैं कह रहा हूँ, उसमें a lot of people have left or retired or some are in hiding. कुछ लोगों को पुलिस उठा के ले गई है, वो जेल में बैठे हुए हैं. So there has been an influx of new people inside PTI, and predominantly they're from the legal fraternity, take yourself included. Now, my question to you is, why exactly is that the case? So why is it lawyers? Why is it not like traders or doctors? Why is this specific influx of lawyers? And corollary to that question would be is this a political strategy that PTI is applying? I'll give you an example. So हो सकता है कि एक स्कूल ऑफ थॉट ये सोचता है कि यार एक पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रैटेजी है ये कि यार लोगों ने रियलाइज किया कि इमरान खान के केसेस जाने वाले कोर्ट्स में, सो मे बी इट्स अ गुड टाइम टू इन्फ्यूज अ लॉट ऑफ लॉयर्स. लीगल कम्युनिटी के साथ हमारी नेटवर्किंग होगी, तो इस तरह हम लोग जुडिशरी के ऊपर लेट्स से वी विल हैव सम काइंड ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस एंड get good judgments in our favor. And then on the other hand, you have people who are actually positing that there might be people, ये जो लोग आ रहे हैं अंदर, बहुत सारे lawyers जो हैं, ये actually are part of the deep state. They have come in as implants. There were people, lawyers, not yourself, but I don't want to name them, who were actually working with other political parties and representing their heads, political heads. So what do you have to say about why lawyers came into this new PTI shape of what I call the PTI 3.0?
Actually, I think there is a distinction between lawyers becoming prominent, lawyers who were already a part of PTI, who were already there. Some of them have become more prominent than in the past, and a very small number of lawyers have actually joined PTI. So when I look at the set of lawyers who are presently prominent as members of PTI, there's hardly anybody who's actually recently joined. Most of them were already there, but they were in the background, if you like, or not as prominent as they've become since the vote of no confidence. So I think we need to keep that distinction very clear. So it's really only myself and maybe a couple of others. I can't really think of very many who've joined recently or not already a part of PTI earlier. Now, people who were already, lawyers who were already a part of PTI and have become prominent since the vote of no confidence, that prominence is obviously easily explained. This is a period when court cases are, all over the place, and therefore engagement with the courts and the role of lawyers has, become highlighted or has become more important than in the past when PTI was in government. So obviously in a situation of adversity where you have to fight for freedom, you have to fight for basic rights, the role of lawyers becomes more prominent. So that's, the first part of my answer to your question, that very few new lawyers have actually joined PTI. It's mostly people who are already lawyers, who are already a part of PTI, who have become more prominent than in the past, and the reason for that is, I think, obvious. Now, why has somebody like myself joined PTI, not just as a lawyer, but also become active politically? I've obviously contested an election, the 8th February election from Lahore for the National Assembly. Now, for me, it was really a matter of principle. I felt as a lawyer that our basic constitutional values were yet again under threat, and it's not a new event. Our basic values have always been under threat. Whatever period of time you might wish to look at, there's always been an attempt to suppress democracy in Pakistan by the powers that be. And this, I felt, was a particularly egregious time after the vote of no confidence, and as matters progressed through the year 2022 and 2023, it became increasingly clear that an onslaught was underway like almost none in the past, to say that the Supreme Court direction to hold elections in accordance with the Constitution within 90 days of dissolution of an assembly, for people to stand up in the National Assembly and say we will not do so, let the Supreme Court enforce its judgment if it can. Now, this has never happened before. This is contumacious institutional disregard of the Constitution and of the Supreme Court. Now, in a situation like this, for me to remain quiet would have been very, very difficult. I've never remained quiet in my life. I have a track record going back 25, 30 years in the profession, where you'll see I've always taken a position for the Constitution, whether it's the Asghar Khan case, whether it was the case on behalf of Dr. Mubashir Hassan against the NRO. I mean, there's a whole line of cases going back 30 years or more. So for me, to become active as a lawyer on the part of the targeted, if you like, is really a continuation of what I've done all my life. But at some point I felt that now the time is appropriate for me personally, and also given the number of people who had left PTI, the political vacuum that had occurred, that I should join and play a political role as well. And lawyers in that sense had maybe a slight advantage. They don't come for us as readily as they do for others. They know we'll create a ruckus in the courts, we'll file petitions, lawyers' bodies will maybe stand with us, or at least a part of them will stand with us. So there was a slight, if you like, advantage that one had as a lawyer in entering the political fray. And there was need for that. So I think both things came together, the need created by the vacuum, the point of principle, and the fact that one felt that as a lawyer there was more room available to act both politically and as a lawyer. So I think that really explains what's happened. There might be some suspicion. I mean, suspicions are always rife. One can't do away with that. And yes, there could be an attempt to make implants. And that too can't be discounted. So I think one needs to look at the totality of what's happened. And to me, it's a net positive. The people who've become more prominent in the PTI are now, I think, a better set of people in terms of principles or commitment to principles, in terms of fidelity to the party. So those who've left, I think, on the whole, have actually benefited the party by their departure. The space created by them has been filled up through greater prominence and through entry by a set of people that I would on the whole say are a better set than in the past.
No, great answers. I will say this much, that there were people, जिसको मैं PTI 2.0 कर रहा हूँ, जो पिछली PTI थी, they came in the good times, okay? So, and as soon as the bad times hit, they all scrammed, okay? So आप सब जो आए हैं अभी recently PTI में, you're being baptized by the fire, okay? So you're coming at the very lowest of low, let's say rock bottom of PTI. So I would think कि वो जो कहते हैं ना कि it's the when you hit rock bottom, you actually hit diamond. So maybe that is maybe I can echo that point, that if you guys can stick around, maybe you were the ones who were who probably will have a longer life within PTI. So just another related question to that: how are you finding and are you involved in the, let's say, administrative matters? Just say PTI ke Central Secretariat hai, I think Umar Ayub right now is heading that. How involved are you in the daily activity of the Secretariat, or are you at all?
No, I'm not. I'm not involved in that. I've just been too taken up by the court cases. I am a member of the court committee, and there I do get to see what's going on and occasionally comment on what's going on, but I'm not otherwise involved in the Secretariat or the administrative matters of the PTI.
Okay, right. All right, so my second question to you, and again, this is all related to ये तंजीमी जो मामला इस वक्त चल रहे हैं PTI के, because there's a lot of questions, a lot of, let's say, खींचातानी चल रही है. There's I see a lot of groups. Now, I'll give you an example. Okay, Salman Saheb, you have become very popular within the party, and if I not only because of the cases जो आप लड़ रहे हैं of Imran Khan को जो represent कर रहे हैं, it's also because before that, when you went into the elections cycle, I think you were, if memory serves me right, you got close to about 150,000 votes or so, which I think amongst all people.
Yeah.
Sorry,
160,000.
Yeah, so that was a lot. I think that was the highest that any PTI candidate polled. Okay, so the votes casted, you had the highest amongst everyone. what the ECP gods did was a story for another day. But just the fact that you were already popular, and I see you a lot in the PTI DNA. The educated person, very oratoric skills are absolutely magnificent. Very a linguist, very good control on English and on Urdu. So you have that PTI DNA in you. And for a person like myself, जो बहुत हम नाकदीन में कहलाते हैं of आपके PTI के. And the whole point of having this discussion with you is to understand more the new PTI that's taking shape, and opening that dialogue. हम लोग अक्सर ये बात करते हैं कि यार खान साहब क्यों नहीं dialogue open कर रहे हैं, लेकिन I think हम अपने level पे at a very workers level, if we can open up the discussion, I think it will. A lot of times you talk about the trickle-down effect, but let's try to try to start the discussion, and maybe it will seep up all the way to the leadership as well. So I'll just come to my second question. And after Imran Khan's arrest, PTI has been functioning like a decentralized entity. Okay. And I see a lot of administrative meltdown. इस वक्त आप देख रहे होंगे शेर अफजल मरवत का और PTI की जो central secretariat है उसमें कोई फड्डा चल रहा है of knocking him out of the party, and he's not really towing the line. But the whole decentralization is not just ये जो internal tussle है within PTI, but आपकी social media हो गई, आपके PTI के offices हो गए in different countries. They all seem to be operating in, with, for lack of a better word, with their own agendas, okay? And like you also just spoke of, having implants coming into the party cannot be ruled out. Everyone is operating in and, stretching in different directions or pushing in different directions. Specifically, let's talk about PTI's social media team in the US and the UK. A lot of the activity that they're doing may be adversely impacting the work that you guys are doing on the ground in Pakistan. So that I don't know how you guys see that, but that's basically the decentralized model that I see, and how I can trace the administrative meltdown. The reasons for that being the decentralization. Now, decentralization itself has its pros and its cons. Okay, the pro ये हो सकता है कि if you look at the big fight between PTI and the deep state, what we see, अगर आप एक decentralized organization है, the deep state has to engage a lot of different groups, independent groups जो scattered all over the world. Okay, it's harder. If you try to kill one group successfully, then another one pops up, and it just becomes very hard to manage. So in a sense, decentralization makes sense in this phase, but then it can also have a negative impact. Yeah, the negative impact can be these groups can start cannibalizing one another, and it quite quickly can become your Achilles heels. So how do you see this decentralization or this organized chaos that's going on right now? I see a lot of activity online on social media. आदिल राजा को कोई भी डिसोन किया जा रहा है, शेर अफजल को डिसोन किया जा रहा है. ये बहुत बड़ी तंजीमी इशूज चल रही हैं, क्योंकि देखिए एक तो है आपके पास you have the political capital, there's no denying that, but then the administrative affairs are not translating with that. So how do you see this the decentralization model and the organized chaos? How are you seeing this, and how do you think you should address this?
I think the word meltdown is probably a bit of an exaggeration. There's no meltdown, but you're right. There is a decentralized arrangement that goes across borders. So yes, you're right. Various social media teams have been working as if it were on their own without really adhering to some centralized policy directive. I can give you an example of some on the street activity as well that has not been consistent with what the central office or the organization's official position was. Now, for instance, the protest in Washington, D.C. outside the IMF offices was not part of the party policy, and the party had to dissociate itself from that protest. The party had taken a position through whatever correspondence it had engaged in, and it was treading carefully. Now, what happened in DC, went way beyond what the party at that point wanted to do. So that kind of thing happens, And it is, in a sense, inevitable with a party of this size spread across so many countries and continents. It cannot be entirely micromanaged. It cannot be entirely, disciplined. And in a way, it results in expression of opinions and in expression of emotions, which are opinions and emotions held by members of the party or held by supporters of the party. And they, I suppose, have a right to express their opinions and their views, and to attribute them to the party or to consider them party policy is incorrect. So what is happening is that people are expressing their views which are not necessarily party policy, and when something particularly distant from party policy takes place, the party does come in and does make an official policy statement with respect to that issue. So I wouldn't say there is complete chaos or there is complete breakdown. Obviously, having the party head in jail makes it difficult to communicate as openly and as expeditiously as one would want to. Now, prior to Mr. Imran Khan's incarceration in August last year, we were meeting him almost daily, at Zaman Park, at Banigala, and one could sit across the table. Everybody with different views could sit across the table, have a conversation, have a discussion, and come to a decision. That has become much more difficult now. What happens is that different groups of people get to see Mr. Imran Khan, often, with great delay. And what conversation takes place between these different groups sometimes gets communicated differently to other parts of the party, and that has at times caused, if you like, some misunderstanding and confusion. But that very quickly gets taken care of, because each time there is some difference of opinion, we do seek an appointment with Mr. Imran Khan, we do apply for a formal meeting, and these things do get resolved, though with a lag. So there is a lag problem here, but I don't think there is chaos or there is a breakdown in the party structure. The chairman is there, Mr. Gauhar Khan, the secretary general is there, Mr. Umar Ayub. There is greater autonomy that's now being given to different regional organizations in each province as well. So we're hoping that this will kind of come together, this structure, in what you call PTI 3, and things will improve in an administrative sense. But having said that, the grassroots support, I tell you, continues to grow. And that is the most important aspect of any political party's existence. So we see on a daily basis that people who are on the fence now feel that the persecution of the party, the persecution of the members of the party, the daily abductions, the beatings, and so on, are things that more and more people think they need to stand up against. And that's really where the real strength of the party is, and this is a strength that continues to grow.
Great. Okay, so maybe good segue into my next question. Maybe meltdown may have been a little exaggerative of a word. I actually picked that word up from someone else on social media. But the next question would be, and this is my third question to you, there are several groups within the party. Okay, so we talked about this decentralized model, the PTI 3.0 being very decentralized in its topological, hierarchical, overview. But if you zoom down into these independent groups, let's say अगर आप PTI UK में देख लें, वहाँ पे भी आपके साथ आप देखेंगे there's a lot of groups developing जो आपस में एक दूसरे को cannibalize कर रहे हैं. इस तरीके से मैं पाकिस्तान में देख रहा हूँ, PTI पाकिस्तान जो है उसके अंदर बहुत सारे धड़े हैं और हर लेयर पे there are a lot of, let's say, groupings going on, from the very top, which I would guess at the moment, जिनको लोग अब आजकल PTI के लोग कहते हैं मादरे मिल्लत, अलीमा बाजी versus Bushra Bibi, then all the way down to Shir Afzal Marwat versus Omar Ayub these days. So there's a lot of tension within each of these decentralized units. And my question to you is, one of the reasons why this is happening could be because जब से ये आप लोग ECP ने आप लोग को as a political party आपका accept नहीं किया, जिसकी वजह से you lost your electoral symbol. I don't even know what the legal standing of the party is at the moment with ECP, and within itself obviously you could have your own disciplines, but what is your take on the legality of and your ability to run affairs given what has happened to you in the last 2 years? यानी कि a lot of, अब देखिए मैं आपको शेर अफजल का भी एग्जांपल दे देता हूँ, ठीक है? शेर अफजल को मैंने देखा था कल, अब पता नहीं अगर कोई नई सर्कुलर है, लेकिन he has been asked to relinquish his position and also इस्तीफा दे असेंबली से, ये उनको एक written notice किया है. Now, what I'm seeing this as an outsider is that if he challenges this in a court of law, and maybe you can, shed some legal light on this, he will probably go and say that, they have no right to be asking me to resign from the assembly or even leaving the party membership because I don't recognize these guys, and the ECP does not recognize these guys, so they have no right to kick me out of the party, and then this could then become a precedent to tinker with your reserve seats, which आप लोग के ऊपर आपके favor में जो judgment है, this will become actually a big, let's say, a cold spaghetti that you'll have to untangle. So what is your take on this, the legality of PTI's party right now?
And again, I would say this whole impression of, groups cannibalizing, each other and so on is again an exaggeration. In any party of this size, there will be groups, there will be opinions, and people will, adhere to different opinions and thereby end up opposing one another. This is healthy. I mean, I see nothing problematic with any of this. And ultimately, every single issue that has come up in the last 2 years on the administrative side has come to the core committee and has been decided, has been resolved. And Mr. Imran Khan has had a say in these matters, and there's really no, if you like, internal paralysis or inability to function as a party. Now, the legal situation is that as of today, the PTI exists. The Supreme Court has accepted its legal existence. Even the Election Commission accepts the legal existence of the PTI. So as a legal entity, it exists. The only issue that was raised after the last intra-party election, or the penultimate intra-party election, was set aside by the ECP through an order of the 22nd of December 2023, was whether the office bearers could be treated as office bearers of the PTI or not. But that issue also at the moment stands resolved, because we had an intra-party election after that, and Mr. Gauhar Khan and the other office bearers are today duly elected office bearers of the PTI, till they are again, knocked down by the ECP, which is something we expect. We think the ECP is out to damage the party, and we expect that they will issue some kind of an adverse ruling in the coming weeks. But till then, there is no problem with the legality of the offices held by the various individuals who are holding those offices. So today we have a chairman, we have a secretary general, and other office bearers. So there is no problem with that. And if tomorrow they were to issue a directive, issue a ruling saying that the last intra-party election also was not proper, then we'll again hold an intra-party election. It'll just be a matter of a couple of weeks, and we'll again elect our office bearers. So I don't see much of a problem on that front. On the the reserved seats issue, yes, they will probably try and use a ruling that says that even the last intra-party election was not proper to interfere with the reserved seats for PTI. But I think prior to that, the amendment in the Election Act, which is now expected tomorrow, Monday, is going to probably also try and overrule, or if you like, override the Supreme Court decision in our favor, and we'll be back in court, you can be sure of that. And this will become another court, if you like, battle. And the matter ultimately again will be resolved by a majority opinion of the Supreme Court. So we are looking to continuing legal skirmishes, battles, if you like. But there's nothing egregiously, wrong with the party structure at the moment. And whatever groupings that you might discern really ultimately have no bearing on the ability of the party to function. They may in the UK or I don't know, maybe even in Canada have some impact locally on how events are organized and who takes credit for what and whether people are being mobilized properly or not. But within Pakistan, ultimately, there is a clearly defined leadership and people obey that leadership.
ठीक है, तो a couple of questions more pop up more, but because of paucity of time, I'll try to move on. And if I have some time, I'll come back to this. Just shift a little bit of the gear a little bit. And again, now this is my fourth question that I'm asking you, and this doesn't have to do with the party ke tanzeem sazi se koi nahi hai. The past three questions were about the organizational affairs of the party. This is more about Imran Khan's ideology and the way he's posturing right now in terms of क्या करना चाहिए और किस तरह पार्टी जो अभी तितर बितर हुई भी है और मेरे खिलाफ जितने केसेस बने हुए हैं मैं किस तरह अपने आप को दोबारा से resurrect करूं. So what I'm seeing is that as an outsider and as a person जो Imran Khan के एक खत actually I was a supporter of Imran Khan from 2002 all the way up to I think 2014, and then I kind of moved away from him, but as an outsider looking into Imran Khan's and trying to understand his philosophy, मैं देखता हूँ कि Imran Khan just refuses to engage the political class. Okay, even now sitting in jail, he at least that what we hear, and now like you said, we don't. For me, it's very hard to trace the source and know that if this ये वाकई में Khan साहब का statement है, is this the latest statement? It has not, maybe it's contradicting with someone else जो उनके साथ मिल के आया है. And maybe before I ask my question, let me just clarify this with you. How many people are going and meeting him at the moment in jail? I know you obviously legally represent him, so I can expect you to be meeting him very regularly, if not often. But how many people are actually going and meeting him? Is he allowed to meet a lot of people, or there is very select few who are allowed to meet him?
No, there is a mechanism. There is a meeting every Thursday, which is a meeting in which anybody that he wishes to meet can meet him. So people apply to meet him. Those names are communicated to him, and he chooses who he is going to meet on a given Thursday. Apart from that, when there are court hearings inside the jail premises, because they've created a courtroom inside the Adala jail, during those hearings, lawyers can obviously meet him, talk to him. The family members are there. So there's, if you like, meetings during court hearings. Journalists are also present during the court hearings. And then there is the formal meeting every Thursday, 6 people at a time. So he's met a fairly broad cross-section of people from within the party during these meetings. And I think he's kept fairly well informed of what's going on. So that's one thing regarding meetings with him.
So, coming back to my question then, now that I'm clear on how many people go and meet him at a time, let's say कि मैं as an outsider जब मैं इमरान खान साहब को देख रहा हूँ मैं तो ये देख रहा हूँ कि वो अभी भी he maintains this position that he wants to talk to the military leadership because he believes that's where the fountain of power flows from. Okay, so he would rather engage them with who he believes are not powerful enough or or marionettes of the army at the moment, and that they're not, let's say, in his eyes, they're not even legally, they should not be occupying these offices because they did not win the elections. We won the election, it was stolen from us, and therefore I refuse to talk to people who stole our mandate. Okay, so I understand that part. But, even if PTI turns the game around, okay, and eventually gets its most preferred outcome, which could be, let's say early elections, snap elections होते हैं, ये पूरी असेंबली टूट जाती है, and एक नए इलेक्शन पे हम चले जाते हैं. I'm just guessing this is his preferred outcome. But Imran Khan will still have to deal with the military. Let's say he becomes the prime minister too after this snap elections. But then the problem still presents itself that he still has to deal with the military, and no civilian or political party alone is strong enough to wrestle the army down okay, and without a major mishap happening. We know what happened in 1971. So how are you seeing the strategy by Imran Khan? And I don't know who are the people that surround him. I feel like there are a lot of hawks that surround him, and he himself is very hawkish in nature. He's very aggressive by his posturing. But don't you think this will eventually hurt him, even if his demands are met today? Like, at the end of the day, he's a civilian, yeah? And he, when he sits...
You've partly answered your own question, but let me rephrase it. It's not correct that PTI is not engaging with the political classes at large. We've engaged extensively with even the JUI, Maulana Fazlur Rahman. We've engaged with the Jamaat-e-Islami. They have a dharna going on at the moment, and our members have gone, our leadership has gone and supported them. He's engaged extensively, and the party has engaged extensively with someone like Mahmood Khan Achakzai. We've also reached out to the PTM, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement. So what we are saying is that, look, the real political forces in this country are no longer, the puppets or the marionettes, as you call them, that are now the PMLN and to a large extent outside Sindh, the People's Party. They are clearly the beneficiaries of the fraud, the massive electoral fraud that took place after the polling had ended on the 8th of February. The people had come out magnificently, despite our symbol having been taken from us. They came out, they voted for democracy. This was a major democratic moment in our history. And this has been scuttled, or an attempt has been made to scuttle this moment. And the direct participants and beneficiaries of this attempt are the PMLN and the People's Party. So they actually today stand as forces opposed to the democratic process in this country. They stand as beneficiaries of the attempt to scuttle democracy in this country. So we call upon all to come around, to start accepting the democratic impulse that is running through the country today, and we will talk to them. But having said that, it is a fact. It's not an academic thing. It is a reality of our existence, political existence and de facto existence, that the army calls the shots in this country. So whatever has happened over the last 2 years has not been engineered by the political forces. It's been largely engineered by the powers that be, the de facto power rather than the de jure power prescribed by the Constitution. So we have to deal with that de facto power, and we feel that we are at a point in time in our history where the judiciary has shown greater resolve than almost ever in the past. When I look back over 76 years of our judicial history, I can count on my fingers 2 or 3 instances when this kind of resistance has been presented to the establishment, to the powers that be. So this is a huge moment in our constitutional history. The fact that people came out and voted and are still standing with the party, every opinion poll every month shows that the PTI is growing in popularity. Now these are things which we feel are events that everybody needs to take into account, including the establishment. They need to, for the sake of the country, for the sake of stability in this country, political and economic, they need to sit down with us, and they need to chart a course of action that is not based on scuttling democracy, on drowning out the voice of the people. So we feel fairly confident that this is a point in time when sanity will finally prevail, and we should be able to arrive at a resolution which is both democratic and decent. So decency is a major issue today. The way people's homes are invaded, the way people are abducted, picked up, made to disappear, all of that we feel has to come to an end. And we are arguing for that, and we are campaigning for that.
Yeah, and the flip side to that, and maybe the deep state, I'm not, listen, let me just play the devil's advocate, okay, here. They would say that, ठीक है, हम आपसे अगर बात भी करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन आपकी जो डिसेंट्रलाइज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, जो इस वक्त यूएस और यूके में बैठ के फलाना चीज़ें कर रही है, जो पाकिस्तान एज अ स्टेट को हार्म कर रही है, हमको एज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन हार्म कर रही है, एंड यू कैन डू नथिंग अबाउट दैट, because we can see the PTI Central Secretariat taking disciplinary action against Sheikh Afzal Marwat, but despite the fact that he hasn't harmed you in the way, let's say, some of the your social media footprint has harmed you. So because no one is taking action against them, they might be thinking, let's say the deep state might be thinking, यार ये हमारे साथ good cop bad cop खेल रहे हैं, यहाँ पे इन फलाना लोगों से ये हमारे साथ बातचीत करते हैं, फिर वहां से वो हम लोग को sucker punches मारते जा रहे हैं. So they it's like the chicken and egg problem game, who will snap first or who will blink first, and I don't know how exactly this will all be settled down between these two parties, but just on that point, we see a lot of people in the social media space specifically and in YouTube and what have you, जो ये क्लेम करते हैं कि यार फलाना ब्रिगेडियर ने जाके, फलाना कर्नल ने जाके और फलाना जनरल ने जाके खान साहब के साथ बात की और उन्होंने उनको जूते के नोक पे रखा, या फलाना ने इस तरह उस तरह किया. We hear a lot of conflicting stories and with a lot of frequency. Like जैसे आप कह रहे हैं ना कि Thursday मिला जाता है, यहाँ तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि हर दूसरे दिन मिल रहे हैं उनके साथ जनरल्स और आर्मी वाले. So what do you know about these backdoor diplomacy going on inside Adiala at the moment? Is there any truth to these direct military and Imran Khan discussions?
Well, I can't claim to be privy to everything, but my belief and understanding is that a lot of what you hear on social media is, wishful thinking or is exaggeration. Things don't happen like this. The way things are being projected is not really what's happening. But we do hope that at some point in time there will be meaningful consultations through whatever emissaries or at whatever level. There will have to be some kind of an arrangement, some kind of a recognition of the democratic standing of the PTI and the fact that you cannot continue to suppress popular sentiment. It's just not going to work for the economy. So I think at some point in time, we are very hopeful that will happen. Saner minds will get together, will sit down and discuss the future. But what you hear on social media, I think, needs to be massively, massively discounted.
And obviously, a lot of us take that with the proverbial, not pinch of salt, but bucket loads of salt. But आपकी जो constituency है, जो आप लोग को follow करती है, आपके voters जो है, somehow they want to hear stuff that, and I guess that's how the fake news world works. Where the more you give them hope, the more they seem to be more receptive to that kind of news. You talked about the saner minds prevailing, and the reason why I'm talking to you today, and you're the first celebrity that I'm taking on my channel, so thank you very much. But we've seen you, and I personally see you as one of the saner minds inside of PTI. But unfortunately, given the history of what Imran Khan has done, and as a person who has run a company, or myself having played sports, so we obviously I've managed teams. What I've done is you always have these characters that you want in the team who are the hawks, and you kind of choose the opportune time to let them loose. Okay, अगर आप ज़्यादा उनको loose छोड़ दें तो फिर वो आप it can hurt you. But in Imran Khan's case, we see this happen again and again, where a lot of the bright individuals inside of PTI kind of get marginalized. ठीक है, मैं PTI 1.0 से अगर देखता हूँ तो हामिद खान साहब बहुत शुरू से उनके साथ है, and I think he's still around with PTI, but has been marginalized. Same with PTI 2.0, where a lot of the let's say the sane voices were not being looked at. I mean, maybe Shah Mahmood Qureshi was one of the more saner voices who were getting more recognition in the party, but a lot of the others were being pushed to the back, and he would keep bringing to the fore, the people who like to attack. अभी भी आप देखें KP में जो बने हैं वो गंडेपुर साहब को बना दिया है, who is a known hawk. Okay, but given some of the audios that came out of him during the May 9th and the May 25th protests जो हुए थे, so I personally want to see people like you come up, because at the end of the day, it's a political reality. Maybe I might not agree with some of the assessments that are given that 80% or 90% of the population is with you. I would say in the best case scenario, it's 50-60% is still with you, okay? But then that still leaves a big chunk of people, and this is the best case that I'm talking about. There's still a chunk of 40%. So even if you go to elections, I don't know, this whole story of 180 seats हम जीत गए, ठीक है, yes, ये हो सकता है, लेकिन we have seen how parties in the past have had many seats, but then over time, due to fatigue of voters, they stopped voting for them, or they found a new person, they moved their votes to some other party. PTI might experience this as well. So at the end of the day, we would want saner minds to prevail. And for me, people like you matter. I see a lot of people not recognizing you. I don't know how you feel about this, so maybe you can give me your take on this. Okay, a lot of the people on the streets actually see you as a Superman. Okay, in fact, this word again was used by PTI's social media people, that Salman Akram Raja is our Superman, and this was because of the fact that इद्दत केस के ऊपर जब बरियत हुई, फिर उसके बाद आपने जो reserve seats के ऊपर जो आपने अपने arguments दिए towards the end of the day, that became very viral. But then I didn't see any appreciation. जैसे इस वक्त मैं देख रहा हूँ अजहर मशवानी जो है, उसको एक जो leadership बाहर बैठी हुई है, वो उसको support कर रही है. But then when you did all the good work, had zero recognition, or am I not seeing what you're seeing? So what's your take on this?
No, I would say that the party is clearly evolving, and I think it is clearly realizing, if it hadn't in the past, I'll not say anything much about the past when I wasn't there, that there is a need for reflection, there is need for ability to govern going forward. That is a conversation that we constantly have within the party. So I think this PTI 3 that you identify is a very positive development. And the fact that new people have entered, you mentioned me, there are others, younger people, there are young women who've entered who are increasingly more prominent and vocal, is having an impact. I would want to mention somebody like Shahrbano Qureshi, Shah Mahmood Saab's daughter. So it makes a difference. And I think you will see that this party will clearly have more voices that are concerned about issues that pertain to everyday life, women's issues, issues that pertain to the rights of non-Muslims, about governance, about economic policy, about foreign policy. So I think there is clearly a set. That does not always catch the attention of the social media activists, but it's incorrect to say that group does not exist within the party, or that those conversations are not being had. So that is happening, very much happening. And I'm very happy to be able to contribute to those conversations. And I think we will see the effect of those conversations on how the party acts and behaves, and ultimately how it reaches out to all democratic forces in the country.
Great. And, I can only wish you all the best. And I know you're tight on time, so I do have more questions, but these are the 4 main questions that I told you that I'll role play with you. And I think you gave me very fair answers here. So I'm very glad that you spoke candidly, and you didn't mince any words. So Salman Saheb, I just hope we can stay in touch, because I know this is not going to be the end of it. I had a lot of questions on issues like iddat case ke upar aur abhi reserve seats ke upar jo मामला चल रहे हैं. But then you get asked these questions on a lot of TV shows, so I didn't want to ask those questions again. Repetitive हो जाता है, and I just wanted to talk more about a bird's eye view of what's happening within PTI, so that your voters understand what's going on, and when they hear from you and they take you seriously, I know that for a fact, they will probably some nerves will start settling, okay? And the other thing is, I want people like myself and many others who, let's say, are critics of PTI, to understand your point of view a bit better. I think opening up these channels of dialogue at our level will hopefully translate somehow, let's say when all the stars align to the leadership level, and then हमारे बड़े फिर शायद take our example and then start opening up the channels. So
Absolutely.
I really want to thank you.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think this is a time when anybody who feels that Pakistan needs to move towards a saner future, towards a future that is more committed to the individual, the poor out there, needs to join in this process. This is a great democratic moment. We must all join forces to see this through. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Salman Sahab. And I hope we keep in touch. I'll keep in touch through our common friend. And hopefully I can have you again on my show. Okay, thank you so much.
Look forward to that. Thank you.